Welcome everyone to another Fuzzy Casuals. It's been a little while, but I did go to the movies last week to see Mortal Kombat 2. I didn't have to. I wasn't doing it for any shows. I heard some buzz, and I'm going to talk about that. And I'll throw another movie on after. Probably Blue Beetle. I think that's probably the most interesting other one to talk about. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 2021, which came out during the pandemic, was kind of okay, mediocre at best, really. Honestly, the weekend before Mortal Kombat 2 came out, well, not before, the weekend of it coming out, because I went to see it on the Monday, so at the weekend beforehand, I watched the 2021 movie again, and it almost put me off going to see the second one, because I probably liked it even less on the second watch than I did the first time. It's just really bland in a lot of ways. A big part of it is the new character. They introduced Cole to be the main character. He is about as dull as paint drying, and he never really kind of became anything else, and the plot's not really anything to really write home about. A couple of little things were also annoying about it, but there was some clearly more respect for some of the game stuff. Everyone got their powers eventually, which wasn't in the old movies, and stuff like that. But people had said good things about 2, said it was better. Plus, you had Karl Urban coming in as Johnny Cage. I guess before I say anything else, it's kind of impressive how many Mortal Kombat characters I know, given that I'm not a fighting game person. I've played hardly any Mortal Kombat. Maybe it's just because the movies from the 90s I saw, and they're just memorable enough that I've kind of taken in anything else through osmosis. Because I follow people who play video games, and I mean, I play video games, but I just don't play fighting games. So at least, I was recognizing most characters who popped up in this new movie, as well as the last one. And yeah, this focuses a bit more on Johnny Cage. He's the closest thing to a main character, although to be honest, it's more of an ensemble where it's pretty evenly split amongst a bunch of them. Except Cole, funnily enough. He is a red shirt. He is pushed to the background. You could count the number of lines he has probably with your fingers. Maybe even on one hand. He barely says anything in this movie. It's so funny how rejected he was in the last movie and how that's affected how he was utilized in this one. Because it was clear when they made that first one and they built the whole story around him finding his inner mojo and whatever. It's so wild. This one, it's like, okay, we realized that everyone hated him, so we're just going to have him in the background for a bit, and that's pretty much it. So I'm keeping this spoiler free for the record before I go any further. Yeah, it's okay. Mortal Kombat 2 is okay. It is better than the 2021 movie. Absolutely. That is a factually correct statement. But the bar was fairly low, and that does not mean that this one is a good movie per se. It's a watchable movie. There's a lot more fun sequences and fight scenes in it. The plot is still paper thin. It's like a bare thread that keeps them together. I mean, they literally teleport to their fights and then teleport back to home base, and there's a lot of that going on throughout the movie. It feels like it wants to give time to so many characters that there's not really enough to kind of focus on. If anything, the closest character to a main character is probably is it Katana, her name is? She was in the 90s movies as well, but they actually give her backstory. She's the one that gets the flashback at the start, and then they kind of build her up over the course of the movie. It has more lore kind of in it. It has more attempts at like a sort of baseline story, even though I think the actual implementation of the story is still pretty thin. The fights are better. Some of them are kind of fun. Karl Urban is funny as Johnny Cage, as is Kano. He's back, which is weird, given that he did kind of meet his demise in the last one. So, they're making up reasons to just bring people back pretty easily in this one. But yeah, it's hard to feel particularly strongly about it. I think people who really care about Mortal Kombat and just want a movie where the characters are kind of treated like they're supposed to be, it's probably going to mostly be satisfying. I think for anyone who actually, I don't know, is into movies, even if they do also like Mortal Kombat, they're probably going to not feel that impassioned by it. I mean, that's to say that I don't think people will like it. I think it's get some buzz for a reason, is that it is maybe at least serviceable as a schlocky no plot B movie kind of thing. And in that level, it is definitely better than the first one. The first one I knocked down to like maybe scraping a 5 out of 10. This one, I'll give it a 6. It's a 6 out of 10. It kind of knows what it's going for, but there's definitely some weird decisions and things, contrivances just to make the next part work. Like, oh, we want the final one-on-one fight between this character and the big bad being Shao Kahn, and we're going to have another character just basically decide to leave so it can be one-on-one, even though it makes no real sense, and they give some sort of eye-rolling explanation as to why they're leaving, and that's just kind of, you just have to accept it. And that's pretty much it. But there's violent deaths, there's gory deaths, they do some of the fatalities, they have a bit more colour in this one. One of my little complaints of the last one was that Sub-Zero didn't really have any blue on his outfit, and that was really weird because it's his colour, it's what you think of when you think of Sub-Zero. I guess they were going for just ambient blue, and the ice is kinda slightly blue, maybe. That was weird. So, I think it's better. But I'm already. This is why I'm kind of glad in a way that I'm not reviewing this on one of the main podcast shows, because honestly, I do not know how much I would have to say, and at a certain point, all that review would be me and David presumably talking about each fight one by one, doing a little bit of the plot at the end and the start, and then that would be it. There's no depth here. There's nothing to analyze and discuss. There's some funny jokes. There's some decent looking fight scenes or uses of their powers in the fight scenes, and that's about it. But the actual structure, the pacing, the depth of actually telling a story where good overcomes evil or whatever else you want to call it, all of that is paper thin to non-existent still. It's not high art by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't think it has the charm of something else that, like, of a similar caliber of quality that would otherwise get you through it. Because I like a lot of 6 out of 10 movies. I like a lot of 6 out of 10 action movies from the 90s or slasher movies from the 80s, and they tend to come with a bit of charm and a bit of cheese. And maybe actually the biggest improvement of this one, outside of just like ignoring Cole for the most part, is that it actually has a sense of humor, and there's more characters that are allowed to be funny. Because the last thing Mortal Kombat should be doing is taking itself too seriously. And that was what really hit me when watching the 2021 movie, is that it was taking itself so seriously the entire time. Moody film about the loss of family and all the rest of it. This is Mortal Kombat. If you want me to like clap when he says get over here, give me something silly, something fun. Don't go to I don't want it to be deep, because as much as I'm saying it's paper thin, I don't want it to have some insane subtext. It's Mortal Kombat, but there's a tighter, fun B movie that I think could still exist for Mortal Kombat. It was a nudge in the right direction for sure, but I wouldn't heap any high praise on it either. So yeah, Mortal Kombat 2 is okay. It's better than the first one from 2021, but that's not really saying a whole lot. It's probably objectively a better movie than the 1995 one, although I think the 95 one probably is more enjoyable to watch because the cheesiness of that time it helps it a little bit and makes it feel a bit more fun. And that means a lot coming from me, because I hate Paul W.S. Anderson as a director, but Mortal Kombat 1, and this is a sad statement to make about someone's career, is his best movie. Not Event Horizon. Event Horizon's highly overrated. Don't at me. Anyway. So yeah, that's Mortal Kombat 2. Watchable, not much more. That's all I can say. So just to have a backup here, a second feature, if you will. Someone on stream, we watch movies on streams over on Twitch, someone had selected Blue Beetle to go on our movie wheel, and we landed on it, and I finally saw Blue Beetle, and this is notable because this is from an era of DC movies where I just wasn't seeing them for a few years. Basically, I don't even know what years it would be, but definitely 2023, 2022, maybe 2021. Like, there was a whole section there outside of the Batman, which was obviously its own separate thing, but anything connected to that Snyder universe, I was out, right? I didn't see Shazam 2, I didn't see Black Adam, I didn't see The Flash, didn't see Aquaman 2. And I'm a DC fan. I'm literally on a DC Comics podcast every week. We're over 500 episodes in. Go check that out. Comics from the Multiverse. There's my plug for the comic book podcast that I've been doing for over 10 years this year. So go check that out. I like DC. I like a lot of DC characters. But the vibes at that time for the movies were so low, it was difficult to muster any enthusiasm to even watch them. Like, it was actually more pleasant ignoring them than even trying to watch them. So I just wasn't watching them. And not that they all looked equally bad. In fact, Blue Beetle looked harmless. It looked like a harmless movie that would probably be fine, and I just didn't see it because, frankly, I just didn't want to deal with the DC movies at the time. But out of all of them, it was the one that seemed the most interesting just because it was, you know, it didn't have the ego of The Rock from Black Adam, it didn't have the connective tissue from the other ones. Shazam 2 and Aquaman 2 got pretty bad reviews, so, like, there was a lot of, and The Flash got really, 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 really bad mocking reviews all over the internet. But Blue Beetle seemed to go down well enough, and at the very least it's a character that we've never seen adapted into a live-action movie, or even a TV show, I don't think. And that is the Jaime Reyes version of Blue Beetle, the younger Hispanic Blue Beetle who, in the comics, he's in high school. In the movie, he's actually just finishing college, so they aged him up a little bit. But the unique things about this movie are that his family play a big role, you know, because typically superheroes, even when they're young, tend to be hiding their superhero life from their family. His origin story basically happens in front of his family, so he can't hide it, and they're all kind of this family unit. So we've got all these kooky family characters, the wild uncle, the grandmother with the crazy militant past, and siblings, parents, all that. And that by far is the most interesting thing about the movie, actually, because it is very unique to have that. And then also the fact that it's entirely a Latino family, surrounded by Latino culture. All of that stuff makes it feel different and distinct from other movies. And it especially feels distinct because a lot of the rest of the movie is very 101 superhero origin story, and that stuff feels pretty tired. Even though this is a character I've never had to watch an origin story before, it still kind of feels like samey in a lot of ways. Like, oh, the first time his suit comes on and it talks to him, so it's kind of like a mix of, you know, a little bit of Iron Man, but a little bit of Green Lantern because the suit can make stuff and whatnot. And the things that make Jaime Reyes unique from other superhero characters, DC or otherwise, like, those elements are actually quite refreshing. The family, the sense of a legacy that's already happened, because there was an old Blue Beetle by the name of Ted Kord who is referenced in the movie. It's part of the mythology that they build up over the course of it. And that stuff, I think, is neat. I think it's, you know, it's paying all the homage that it wants to from the comics. It seems like it's trying to do a faithful interpretation of the characters. It feels, sadly, a little topical in some negative ways at a couple points, with how the villains treat the family. And I think those elements, and the heart that brings, is its biggest strength. It's just unfortunate that the villain is the most weakest, lame, generic superhero villain ever. It doesn't matter that Susan Sarandon is playing the villain. Still just dull as dishwater as far as, like, story ideas goes. And she's got, like, a big henchman who does all the fighting, and he's also pretty dull. And frankly, the movie's a bit too long as well. Like, it goes into its third act, like, maybe at an hour and 20 minutes in, but there's, like, 40 minutes left of the movie at that point, and you feel like we should be, like, maybe only 20 minutes left. And I felt that last chunk feeling really fat and stretched out, and just, it felt like it needed to be trimmed a little bit. It didn't need every segment that it had, I would suggest. But, you know, so I have critiques, right? I think ultimately I came down on this with just a little higher than what I gave Mortal Kombat 2. I think I gave it a 6.5 out of 10, and I think that to me is me saying that it's kind of verging on good, right? There's a lot of elements that are cool about it and feel distinct, and I appreciated those elements. However, at the same time, a lot of the superhero stuff outside of the family knowing about it is very typical origin story stuff, and it just kind of feels at a certain point like you're going through the motions, and it's like, oh, the real stories can't really begin until the second movie, which hasn't happened and likely might never, because this was an odd, weird movie where they'd already announced the new universe that James Gunn was starting with Superman before I think this movie even came out, or at the very least there was rumblings of it before it came out. So kind of wild in that sense. It's kind of an interesting bit of history. But the quality of the movie's fine. You know, it's solid, and it's not. You know, it made me laugh a few times as well. It had some humor to it, and the family is a big part of that. And to be fair, there was an uncle character who I thought I wasn't going to like up front, because I thought, oh, he's a bit of a caricature, he's a bit too over the top. But honestly, by about the third way in, he started to really grow on me. Like, they had something cooking there, I think. So I think if you're interested in Blue Beetle, right? If you're sick of superhero movies, yeah, don't watch it. You're not going to get anything particularly exciting out of it. But if you're interested in Blue Beetle, if you like the character, or the focus on the family, or the Latino characters appeals to you, then I think, yeah, give it a try. You know, you might be even more enthusiastic than I was, but there's some nice qualities to it. It's not a bad movie by any stretch. So that is Blue Beetle from 2023, the DC Comics movie. But that'll do me for another Fuzz Thoughts. I'll try and not leave a big month-plus long gap before the next one. I did watch tons of movies. I was just so busy keeping up with stuff that I didn't have time to sit down and talk about them. And there was definitely a couple that I could have said some stuff on, looking at what I've been watching for the past month or so. Some interesting stuff. But yeah, that is me. Maybe I'll do like I don't know, maybe I'll dig further back over the last month and pick out a few that I want to mention, maybe in an even quicker format than this, where I just kind of bounce through, give a quick paragraph and a rating for a few of them. If you're interested in that, let me know. If not, no big deal. But let me know what you thought of Mortal Kombat 2 or Blue Beetle in the comments. If you've seen them, like, subscribe, all that stuff helps out a bunch if you do. And of course, you can support everything over on Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, and it really does keep everything coming. Collector's Cut just started, John Woo season. I'm super pumped about that season. Doing these Hong Kong films from the 80s and early 90s. Excited for that. We've recorded a couple of them. First one's already out. Go check it out. It's good stuff. But yeah, that is me. Thank you very much for joining me. I do appreciate it. Keep watching movies, and if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.